pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very
We are relentless in addressing her. We are persistent, we are patient, but we are relentless.
Are you going to protect women's safety? Are you going to protect women's safety about, the trans men going into women's locker rooms and harassing us? Are you going to protect us from that? What do you feel about that? Do you know what a woman is? I asked a question. Do you know what a woman is? Are you going to stand for women? Yeah. Word salads. Word salad.
Get 'em.
LA, you ready for a mayor that's going to stand for women?
Yes.
I'm right here. I'm bold. I'm not afraid. Tish Hyman, it's not that hard.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Tish Hyman will be on the Wake Up America show today. God bless America. Yeah, she'll be on my show today. Rise and freedom, patriots, libertarians, anybody out there who's tired of being lied to by a media establishment that thinks you're too stupid to notice the grifts. I'm Austin Petersen, coming to you live from the high command of common sense, broadcasting across the frontiers of liberty from Jefferson City, Missouri. I've got a staggering 5-alarm fire of a show for you today. We're going to dive headfirst into the controlled demolition of adult responsibility. We're going to pull the curtain back on the most audacious, narrative-driven, tax-free wealth transfer in modern history. We're talking about the Jeffrey Epstein survivor industry, where successful 23-year-old models are retroactively deciding they were groomed, just as the $290 million settlement checks start flying. It's a spectacular erasure of adult agency, and Congress is providing the PR. Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie marched onto the House floor to out the elites, but it turns out they just smeared an IT manager from Queens and some random guys from an FBI photo lineup. It is a total, unmitigated parliamentary disaster, and we have the receipts. If you want to know how the elites protect themselves while ruining private citizens, you cannot afford to miss the A block. But we're just getting started, because the danger isn't just in the halls of Congress. It's on the interstate next to your family van. Later in the hour, we're going to hit the highways with journalist and documentarian Adam Coleman. He's gone inside the cab to expose the deadly reality of illegal aliens with CDLs commanding 40-ton rigs in your lane. These are men who cannot read a wrong way sign, cannot communicate with law enforcement, and are being recruited by corporate trucking giants to undercut American workers while putting your children at risk. Adam has the raw footage and the cold, hard data on the fatal crashes that the DOT wants to ignore. This is a story about sovereignty, safety, and the corporate greed driving the border crisis into the heart of our infrastructure. Then, we're coming home to the Show Me State. Camelia Petersen from Americans of Prosperity at 8 a.m. joins me. She's going to discuss the final frontier of tax reform. Missouri's on the verge of doing the impossible, abolishing our state income tax once and for all. Yes. Can we actually free the Missouri taxpayer in 2026, please? And we're not stopping there. We were also talking about the historic expansion of school choice that is sending the teachers' unions into a total meltdown. So if you want to see the blueprint for how to win the war in the legislature for liberty, Camelia Petersen, friend of the show since we launched over 3 years ago, has the battle plan. She's going to be with us today, 8 a.m. Don't miss it. And finally, the woman that the Los Angeles establishment is absolutely terrified of. Tish Hyman will be on the show today.
It's very important to me that I support this initiative. How you say, I'm 42 years old. I come from a very rough neighborhood. And I was in a restroom in a Gold's Gym, and I turned around to a man in the locker room. 3 different men on 4 different occasions in a 2-week span, which let me know it was out of control. Now, me as a very tough woman from the Bronx, I promise you I cried more than I ever cried in my adult life. After this, I cried for my mom. I cried when I hear these little girls telling their stories. And I am a tough woman. And the effect that turning around to a man in the locker room had on me, or him disrespecting me, having no regard for my naked body, the way that I felt, the disrespect, the violation, and how it affected my life is just something that I have never felt, and I can't even explain to you.
That is a very strong woman. Tish Hyman will be on my show today, our show. People like Drew Van Runkle, who help make this show happen. People like Amy J. Easley, who make this show happen. Think about if we didn't have Amy J. Easley. Would there be a Tish Hyman on the Wake Up America show at 8:30 a.m. Central? I don't think so. We do it because of you. So thank you to all of our financial supporters. Tish Hyman, Grammy-nominated artist, had her life upended when she was banned from Gold's Gym for standing up for women's privacy in the locker room. She refused to be silenced, she refused to be canceled, and now she's running for mayor of Los Angeles to kick the radicals out of City Hall. You love to see it. Yes. She's bringing adult supervision to the West Coast, and you need to hear the message, the disillusioned Americans who are ready to take their cities back. It is a jam-packed show. We need you in the fight. The bonus content unlocks are on the line today. We didn't hit it yesterday. If we hit $100 raised today, I will release the new mini documentary from the vault. If we hit 150, it's time for the Great Grift Off, Liberty Loot Live. So we compete in trivia for real prizes from the gift shop. So get those donations in, get in those tax-free tips, go to forlibertyshop.com, grab your Founding Flavors coffee, and set your brain to maximum capacity. Wake up, America. The revolution will not be televised, but it will be streamed on rumble.com, and it starts right now. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching the Wake Up America show. Click that like button. And if today's your first time watching the show, click the follow button as well.
Who are you? I see everybody hugging you. You got the trans flag?
Senator.
Yeah. The senator of where?
Yeah, senator from this. Yeah. Ed
From
Markey.
where?
Ed Markey. Yeah.
Ed Markey. There are a few senators we got to vote out, and this is one of them. This is the senator we got to vote out. The grown man fighting to be in a women's locker room. Ain't that something? An old man fighting to be in a women's locker room. Yeah, go
Get
ahead.
him, Tish.
Disgusting. You want to be in a women's locker room? You're a grown man. And you women are disgusting. You're all women. How could you even want men in the locker rooms with you? You're women. You don't got to stand in front of me, bro. You're not going to do shit to me. You guys don't fucking follow me. Back up from me, bro. I'm not one of those people.
Yes, get him, Tish. We're kicking off the show today with a story that should make every self-reliant citizen's blood boil. We're witnessing the birth of the professional survivor class. This is where adulthood is no longer a status of responsibility. It is essentially a perpetual state of infancy. So at the recent Epstein presser in Washington, D.C., reporter Michael Tracy confronted Lisa Phillips, a professional model who was 23 years old when she voluntarily flew to Epstein's island. Tracy asked the obvious question, doesn't grooming refer to children? And Phillips responded with the radical new dogma of the Me Too era, which is you can be groomed at any age. So, I'm sorry, what? Can you? You can be groomed at any age? Pretty sure that you can. If you're 23 and if you are a successful professional living in Manhattan, if you voluntarily accept an all expenses paid trip to a private island, give a naked billionaire a topless massage and enjoyed it at the time, you are not a victim of grooming. You are an adult prostitute making a choice. But the radical left has redefined grooming to include any unpleasant memory that can be retroactively monetized decades later. We are erasing the legal distinction between a helpless child and a grown woman with an agent. And in doing so, we are destroying the very basis of individual agency. If no one is responsible for their choices, no one is really free. Now, let's talk about the money, because this isn't just about healing. It's about a massive tax-free 9-figure wealth transfer. So the settlement funds in this case are staggering. $290 million from JP Morgan, $75 million from Deutsche Bank, and $125 million from the Epstein compensation program. But here's the part that the media isn't talking about. These payouts are qualified settlement funds under Treasury Regulation 1.468B1. So what does that mean? It means that these $1 million checks are treated as compensation for, quote, physical injury, making them completely tax-free. So while you're being audited by the IRS for your small business expenses, these adult grooming survivors, aka prostitutes, are hauling in tax-free millions without ever having to step into a courtroom. No cross-examination, no adversarial process, just a storytelling session with a friendly lawyer like David Bowie's. Juliette Bryant, who claims Epstein shapeshifted into a reptile and that she was abducted by UFOs, walked away with over $2 million tax-free. We're subsidizing delusion and escort-turned-survivor rebranding with the blessing of the federal government. So here we go. Now, the escort-to-survivor pipeline. Wake up, America. It's time we stop whispering and start naming names because the media is running a rehabilitation clinic for people who were voluntary participants in the Epstein circus. Let's talk about Shantae Davies, one of the stars of the DC press conference. She spent 4 years in Epstein's orbit. She was on the famous 2002 trip to Africa with Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey. And what was she doing back then? Well, she called herself a trainee massage therapist. But the truth is, she was a softcore porn actress landing roles in movies called Exposed in 2015 at the mature age of, 36. She actively denied being a victim. She rebuked journalists for even suggesting it. But fast forward to 2019, Epstein is dead, the settlement money is flowing, and suddenly she's a survivor of decades of trauma. She isn't a victim, she's a professional whose career stalled and who found a new, more lucrative contract in the victimhood industry. And she isn't alone. We have Teresa Helm, another young adult who was 22 when she met Epstein. She says it took her 17 years to realize she was a victim, and she only realized it after watching a YouTube video. Oh, wow. Isn't that amazing? Well, guys, for millions of dollars, how much, what will you say that Epstein did to you? Epstein, he made me do topless massage. He made me do topless massage on him and then I did a professional film. It's the Wake Up America show, and things are a little spicy this morning. But hey, the Epstein Files are out there. Thank you, Andy. Ah, yes, the settlement money is flowing. She's a survivor of decades of trauma all of a sudden. So, Teresa Helm, she was a victim. She watched a YouTube video. She wasn't a victim. Suddenly she watched a YouTube video, and now she's a victim. She's a lived experience expert now at an NGO. She has a PR handler named Dawn Schneider, whose job title is literally Curator of Reputation. Ladies and gentlemen, when you have to hire a reputation curator, you aren't telling the truth. You are running a branding campaign. These women were escorts, models, and aspiring actresses who were well compensated for their time. They weren't trafficked, they were hired. But because the public is so terrified of the pedo label, no one was allowed to ask, were you just a prostitute who regrets her clients now that he's unpopular? So we've turned the legal system into a reputation washing machine for adult women who want to purge their past and pull a tax-free paycheck on the way out. It's dishonest, it's corrupt, and it is an insult to every actual victim of human trafficking on this planet. But the grift goes all the way to the top. And a Representative Ro Khanna, the California Democrat looking for a 2028 Spartacus moment, Khanna marched onto the House floor last week, chest pounding, claiming he had outed 6 wealthy and powerful men the DOJ was secretly shielding. He asked, if we found 6 men in 2 hours, imagine how many are hiding in 3 million files. Well, Ro, we don't have to imagine because Jonathan Turley exposed the truth. 4 of the 6 men Khanna named have absolutely zero connection to Jeffrey Epstein. They were just random individuals used by the FBI in a photo lineup years ago. An IT manager from Queens, random citizens with misdemeanor arrests, totally innocent men whose reputations were just nuked on C-SPAN. Khanna and Thomas Massie forced the unmasking of random bystanders for the sake of a viral clip. This is an oversight. This is parliamentary mispractice. It's the ultimate example of the impunity enjoyed by the truly wealthy and powerful congressman who can smear you and hide behind constitutional immunity. Jonathan Turley, again, he hit the nail on the head. Ro Khanna is the real abuser of power here. Under the speech and debate clause, Khanna is protected from defamation suits for statements made on the House floor. If he had read those names at a Starbucks, he'd be looking at 4 bankruptcy-inducing lawsuits tomorrow. But he hid behind the Constitution to destroy innocent people while denouncing elite impunity. He dismissed warnings from his own colleagues like Representative Brad Knott, who was begging for more resources to vet these millions of documents. But Khanna and Massie didn't want accuracy. They wanted headlines. They used the Epstein Files as a political prop, willing to burn random private citizens to get on the evening news. They've turned the U.S. Congress into a tabloid rag, immunizing themselves from the consequences of their own folly while innocent men are left with no recourse but to watch their lives dissolve in the false light of congressional grandstanding. And where is the Fifth Estate? Where are the watchdogs? Well, they're hugging the sources, NBC, ABC, CNN. They trot out these adult survivors as if they were helpless toddlers. They never ask the age. They never ask about the all expenses paid vacations. They never ask why the trauma only surfaced when the JP Morgan settlement money became available. When Michael Tracy asked Tara Palmieri why she wasn't asking skeptical questions, she asked him who he was with. Now, that is the move of a PR hack. That's not a journalist. We have PR firms like Schneider Group Media who literally call themselves curators of reputation, feeding scripts to reporters who are all too happy to comply. They're running a protection racket for the grift. They conflate real pedophilia with adult regret to protect the narrative and their money, and they attack anyone who points out the discrepancy as a defender of Epstein. It is the most repugnant form of gaslighting in modern American history. If you want to see how a grift is manufactured, if you really want to see how a grift is put together, nobody understands the grift better than AP for Liberty, the owner of thegriftshop.com. It's ironic. But if you want to see how a grift is manufactured, here's what it is. You don't look at the foot soldiers, the people who are out there like the Shantays. You look at the generals. Right, enter Dawn Schneider. She's the storyteller and curator of reputation. She is the PR handler for Teresa Helm, the woman who was 22 when she met Epstein and only realized she was a victim 17 years later after watching a YouTube video. So Dawn Schneider isn't just a publicist. She's an architect of narrative. Her bio literally says that she creates unique narratives where expertise, facts, and opinion-making meet. The translation for that is she turns escorts into icons and adult regret into tax-free assets. She previously worked for the Boies Schiller law firm, the same firm representing these survivors, for millions in fees. So it's a closed loop. Dawn Schneider is the one coaching these women on how to cry for the camera, how to dress for the Capitol, and how to convince you that a 23-year-old model in a private jet is no different than a kidnapped child. They aren't sharing truth, they're placing product. And the product is the permanent infantilization of the American women to their financial and social benefits. But to understand the psychology of this one, look at patient zero, Maria Farmer. The media calls her the Oracle, but the facts call her a fantasist. In 1995, she was 26 years old. She was a graduate student, which is not a child. She voluntarily took a job, voluntarily moved into the mansion, and voluntarily stayed until the paycheck stopped. And what is her story? Well, she tells Whitney Webb that the world is run by a Jewish mafia. Of course. Well, that's obvious. She tells the media she saw Jeffrey Epstein shapeshift because of course she did. She witnessed Epstein shapeshift into a lizard. She claims she was abducted by UFOs. That is the woman Ro Khanna is protecting. This is the basis for a $600 million lawsuit against you, the taxpayer. Maria Farmer is the one who taught the other woman that if you align your story with the pedophile narrative, you are untouchable. She's the reason that we've descended into a deranged moral panic because the media is too afraid to admit that their primary source believes the world economy is controlled by interdimensional reptiles. The shame of it. Now, once Maria built the blueprint, the others rushed in for the gold. Name them and shame them because they're stealing valor from actual victims and children. Shantae Davies, 22, softcore porn actress, who denied being a victim for 15 years until the JP Morgan money was on the table. Liz Stein, 21, claims she was in prison for 30 years despite being bedbound by her own delusions and hospitalized 30 times for psychiatric care. Walked away with over $2 million, tax-free, while telling tales of reptilians and abductions. Marichka Shartuni, 20, one encounter with Epstein, buried the memory until the settlement spigot turned on. These women aren't survivors. They are rebranded escorts, okay? They're using the Epstein scandal to purge their resumes and fill their bank accounts. And they do it, right? They use this whole system that's been set up of you can never question women for anything. They say they're a victim, then they must be a victim, and therefore they cannot be questioned. And how many times have we seen these moral panics descend? People's lives and their reputation. Does anybody remember the Duke lacrosse case? I think we talked about that one yesterday. We talked about it yesterday. Coming up in just a few minutes, Adam Coleman on the Wake Up America show, but I'm going to finish this strong here. Why does the media let them get away with this? You know why? Because the media are tools for the mob. Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie are on the stage to validate the fantasy because they don't want to be called pedo defenders, right? They're also running for re-election like they do every 2 years. They'd rather smear an innocent IT manager on the House floor than ask Maria Farmer if she still sees lizards in the room. Right? They've given up on due process to serve the storytellers. So we're creating a civilization where no woman is an adult ever, where no choice is final, where every regret can be retroactively litigated for millions. And if we don't stand up to this moral panic, if we don't demand precision, then the truth is dead. We want the pedophiles in jail. But I refuse to be held hostage by adult prostitutes, PR firms, hookers running a nationwide shakedown. Wake up, America. This grift is in the open, and it's time to stop subsidizing their delusion tax-free. And that's how the cookie crumbles. Adam Coleman joining us live in 5 minutes to talk about illegal aliens. Are they on the road with you? Is this what it will look like next time you're on the road?
This exclusive video just in. It's dash cam video shared with Eyewitness News, and it's from the red semi.
Hi, my name is Adam Coleman. I'm a writer. Many of you may be familiar with my articles in the New York Post as a contributor, but I'm also a documentarian. I have one documentary that is out called Not Standing Alone, exposing transgender ideology and how it's affecting children in America. And I have another movie coming out called America's Moms this summer, 2026, circling around parental rights and how the school boards are affecting our children, essentially. But I have another documentary that I plan to work on very soon, Live On Without the person that they cared about so much.
That's Adam Coleman. You'll be joining us live. Don't go anywhere. The danger on our highways is even deeper than the headlines suggest. Joining me next is Adam Coleman, the brains behind this new documentary exposing the truth about illegal aliens behind the wheels of 40-ton rigs. We're going to go inside the cab to show you what the media is hiding. We'll be right back. It's the Wake Up America show, and you're watching the 4 Liberty Network.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so.
Tonight, this dash cam video of a chain reaction crash that left 3 people dead on a California highway, now at the center of an investigation and the debate over immigration. The driver behind the wheel of a tractor trailer facing charges of vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated for causing that horrific crash on the 10 freeway east of Los Angeles. 21-year-old Jashanpreet Singh of India was driving with a valid California commercial license, but ICE officials say he was in the country illegally. It comes months after another deadly crash in Florida. The Department of Homeland Security says this driver, also with a California commercial driver's license and in the country illegally, allegedly made a reckless U-turn on the Florida Turnpike, causing a crash that also killed 3 people. California officials say that driver in Florida...
Welcome back to Wake Up America, Rise and Freedom. We've been discussing the explosion of fatal crashes involving illegal aliens operating semi-trucks without basic English proficiency. But to understand the scale of this crisis, you have to see it. My next guest is a journalist and documentarian who's gone deep into this culture to show the disregard for our safety and for the law. He's the founder of Wrong Speak Publishing, the director of the new documentary on this trucking crisis. Joining me now, Adam Coleman. Adam, good morning. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, Adam, your documentary kind of highlights a shocking lack of enforcement of the law. So how are these individuals obtaining commercial licenses in the first place if they can't pass the federal English requirement?
Well, the first thing is that not a lot of people talk about this, but there are such thing as CDL mills. So we might have heard of stuff like diploma mills, usually, and not exclusively, but you can see something where someone from India, someone from like a foreign nation would generate a fake diploma that they can use in the United States or other Western countries to get a job. Sometimes that happens within the United States too with fake diplomas, but CDL mills are something similar where these are legitimate tests from legitimate locations, but what they're doing is lowering the standard. So they're pretending that these people are actually passing all the tests. So they can just pump them through, make a bunch of money, and then push out a bunch of CDLs. The big thing is the non-domicile CDLs. It was being exploited. So there is an aspect of non-domicile CDLs, which is normal, where it says non-resident. So if I live in New Jersey, but I take a test in Pennsylvania, I don't live in Pennsylvania. So I would have to get a non-domicile CDL until I can transfer it over to New Jersey where I could have my license. What they did was basically exploit the non-resident aspect of it. And that's why you see this explosion of non-domicile CDLs.
Is this a coordinated effort by blue states? And if so, why are they doing this? California, Illinois, why are they providing loopholes for licensing when it's so clearly dangerous?
You know, it's interesting. Part of me says, I don't know if it's coordinated or if it's just being facilitated, if that makes any sense. So, for example, there were laws that were changed. Not actually, these weren't laws. These were mandates that were changed. So the English language mandate, Barack Obama told them basically to stand down as far as enforcing it goes. It was a memo that was generated. From there, adding on top of the explosion of legal immigrants coming through the border when Biden entered office, that created a pathway of an environment where there was already some of that activity going on, but it just truly exploded from there. But immigration became the political factor. I think states like California, for example, where a lot of these non-domicile CDLs are originating from, but it's happening all over the country. So I don't want to just single them out, but they're really bad. California has made this a political issue. On top of that, they've openly stated that their economy is dependent on illegal labor. So if you have a state that has taken the stance that any sort of illegal citizen is a benefit to the state, then why would you take some sort of enforcement to keep them from getting employment? So that's why I don't know if they set it up that way. I don't think they did, because I think there's a lot of black market activity that's happening regardless, but they're definitely facilitating it happening. Even with the English language requirement, there's questions as far as, is California enforcing it? And that's, it depends who you talk to. And is that enforcement the end all be all? It's not.
Adam, you spent time with veteran American truckers. What are the actual American truckers who are licensed, certified, the veterans of this industry? What are they telling you about the safety risk that they see at truck stops and on the road every day?
One person explicitly told me, if you see an Amazon truck, stay out of its way. And when he said that, I'm just like, your eyes open because you see Amazon trucks all over the place.
Yeah.
But what they're saying is basically they're taking a skilled trade, which driving a truck is a skilled trade. People take for granted, you think you just get in and put it in gear and it just moves like you're driving a regular car. There's a skill to it, especially with that particular size. And there's a level of responsibility that comes with it as well. The woman I was talking to for my piece for the New York Post, she lost her husband because the illegal immigrant that was driving the truck is not used to driving in the Colorado mountains and is not used to relying on the gears to slow down versus the brakes. And because they didn't apply it properly and approach it properly, it jackknifed, and that's ultimately led for her husband being killed. So they're saying that this is degrading their profession. It's making the roads more dangerous. We're seeing more and more crashes pop up. Obviously, someone could say, well, these are selective things because of political blah, blah, blah. But no, these are things that have been going on for some time. It's just that finally we're shining a light on it. But I want to emphasize that even the FMCSA, which many of people outside the FMCSA says they're lowballing, even they're acknowledging that over 200,000 illegal truckers are on the road. So that's a lot of people. Other estimates say 600,000 to 800,000. So it's really hard to say.
We saw those fatal crashes in Florida and Tennessee. Beyond the language barrier, Adam, what are some of the other major safety violations that you're seeing from this specific driver pool?
Well, and actually, I don't want to put everything on the driver because I just want to be completely fair. The drivers are often brought here and they're trafficked into this country under false pretenses. They don't know that they're about to be set up to drive for 80 plus hours a week and that they're going to have to live in their truck. Some of them have their families held here somewhat as hostage until they could pay their debts of being brought into the country. So there's a lot of seedy behavior that's going on. I think most of the ire should go on the carriers themselves. The carriers are the ones who hire the drivers, and I put hire in quotes, but the carriers are the ones who bring in the drivers and put them behind the wheel. The carriers are the ones who are getting violations after violations because the drivers can't speak English. The trucks aren't within regulations, several regulations. They get into crashes all the time because those drivers really shouldn't be behind the wheel anyways. When people really start diving in, and that's what I want to do with this documentary, when you really start diving in, just example after example that I've seen where one carrier can have 10 trucks and hundreds of crashes. And no one talks about this until someone, then they talk about it. But it's a really massive problem.
Adam, you've talked about the cultural divide on the road. How does the inability to communicate with law enforcement during a crisis exacerbate the danger of these accidents?
Everything. I mean, because imagine if there is an accident, an officer has to ask questions to figure out what's going on, to assess who's responsible for what. So there's the massive language barrier at hand when they're trying to investigate on the scene. There's the language barrier as far as interpreting signs. There's the language barrier as far as understanding the rules of the road. Because they're not actually properly being trained to even drive the trucks in the first place, they're doing stuff like the one in Indiana, where the Amishmen were killed. He lost control because he wasn't paying attention, and he swerved into oncoming traffic rather than swerving off-road, right? And every trucker that I've seen comment on it was saying, you could tell this guy's not a professional because every professional truck driver knows you swerve onto the ground, onto your side of the road to minimize something like this, where someone has no reaction to stopping in front of you. So the language issue, the skill issue, there's an issue across the entire board.
If now states like Missouri and Arizona are looking at passing some pretty tough new laws to try and stop this license shopping that we see in states like California, do you think that's the way forward, or what solutions are you looking at?
I'm a relatively optimistic person, and I've been talking to some experts. I'm not a trucking expert. I don't pretend to be, but I've been diving into this for a little bit. The only thing that seems to have worked, and I believe it was Oklahoma when it was explained to me, Oklahoma would do like this sweeping enforcement, and they would just grab a bunch of trucks, and they would grab hundreds of trucks where the guys couldn't speak English. And so what they ultimately did was impound the trucks. And that was the only thing that actually stopped the issue. Because even if you cite them and you take them off the road, which is actually what they're supposed to do, you can't communicate, I'm gonna take you off the road, you shouldn't be driving. What they'll do is get into another truck a day or two later for somebody else. Even if they shut down the carriers still take loads. As long as they have insurance, the brokers still give them loads, still facilitate it. So they still carry loads. The man that I was talking about who was killed, that carrier was shut down a year prior. So they weren't even supposed to be carrying anything, yet somehow they were still able to. And that man would be alive if we had an actual enforcement going on, if we actually, and this stems past just the trucking enforcement, but the actual illegal immigration enforcement. The guy who killed him behind the wheel was deported 16 times. So it doesn't make any sense as to what's going on. So when people pretend that every person who's coming over here is just looking for an opportunity, there's no danger whatsoever, they commit less crimes. No. Like every crime that is committed by an illegal immigrant is an unnecessary crime because they weren't supposed to be here in the first place. And that man would be alive if it weren't for this situation.
So you're generally an optimistic person, but you're not optimistic on this, Adam? Is that what you're trying to say, essentially?
I am not optimistic that if the only solution is enforce English language standards, then that is a kick in the backside just for a moment, because they're just going to get into another vehicle. What people have to understand, when you're here and operating in the black market, it doesn't matter if you get caught doing something that's illegal. In a high trust industry, what the trucking industry used to be, those guys wouldn't get work. Now it's become a low trust industry. And so if you have a situation where these guys get shut down, they'll just start another company in 24 hours and replace it. So there are many times you can look and find one particular address has 10 different companies that used to be assigned to that particular address, is because they run through names and they just make up generic name after generic name so they can operate and get a new DOT number. And no one is keeping track of it. And it doesn't even matter if they get shut down, they'll still operate. As long as they can get insurance, they can still operate. So either insurance companies have to become a really big part of this, because then they'll definitely not be able to get loads, or the state is going to have to start impounding trucks who are massive violators.
The one down vote of the stream, the one thumbs down, is definitely an illegal alien trucker. I'm speaking to Adam. I'm speaking to Adam Coleman on the Wake Up America show today. We're talking about his new documentary about the scourge of illegal alien drivers driving trucks. Notable and quotable, Adam Coleman said earlier, if you see an Amazon truck on the road, get out of the way. Adam, any other revelations or keen insights that you found? I know you don't want to give away the milk for free. You want people to watch the documentary, but what do you think is really the most compelling reason to watch it?
Well, I'm still in the process of creating it, and that's why I'm trying to crowdfund for it. They can go to the Gibson Go / the illegal highways. But the biggest revelation is that every company, every massive company that you see carry goods utilizes illegal immigrants. And this goes beyond private. This goes into public as well. USPS is notorious for having illegal immigrant drivers, even down to the military, as far as carrying military goods, bringing them to bases and things of that nature. I've seen stuff where they try to do some seedy stuff because technically they're not supposed to be doing that. So they'll look for legitimate drivers to meet them at a particular spot to finish like the last few miles so they can drop it off at a base, right? And let the illegal immigrant take it across the country or wherever they're coming from. So there's a lot of shaky behavior, but this problem isn't one company. It's not just Amazon. It is all over the place. And it's been going on for some time. It's just that truckers haven't had a voice as to what's going on within their industry. Maybe with Trump coming into office, maybe the unfortunate circumstance of really horrific, obvious crashes happening in the past few years, especially the past couple of years, have maybe brought it into light and even got someone like myself to notice it. But now that I notice it, I can't unsee it. And I think the more I dive into this, the more it's this rabbit hole that most Americans have zero idea as to what's going on. But it is a massive danger on the roads.
Adam Coleman from Wrong Speak Publication. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we let you go today?
Yeah, once again, go to my Gibson Go. I want to get this produced. I want to focus on the families who were impacted by the loss of family members by these illegal truckers. I want to tell their stories. I want people to see that there's a real face behind this. It's not just numbers. These are real faces, real people who lost their husbands, their fathers. These are people who are impacted. These are real Americans who are impacted. So I want to put a light onto it. So if you can, whatever you have, if you can go to gibsongo.com/theillegalhighways, I'd greatly appreciate it.
There we go. Adam Coleman, Wrong Speak. Thank you so much, Adam, for being so generous with your time. Good luck with your documentary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Scary stuff. Good morning. Rise and freedom. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. We're glad and thankful to have you here. If you haven't clicked the like button yet, please do so. Support the Wake Up America show totally for free. When you click the like button, it helps us to get more people's feeds. When you're watching us on Rumble, if today's the first time watching the show, or maybe you've watched us a few times and you haven't clicked the follow button yet, just click the follow button. You'll get a notification on your Rumble app when we go live, which is 5 days a week. Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the Wake Up America show schedule. Make sure that you come back and join us every single day. Click the like button and the follow button, and you will get notifications right when the show starts so you can come in and join us. We'd be glad and grateful to have you reach out to us anytime as well. You see that phone number at the bottom of the screen? 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. 1586. Wake up, America. While you were sleeping, the CCP sent a chill down the spine of every military strategist on the planet. So during the recent Spring Festival Gala, China didn't just show off some new TV shows. They showcased the future of kinetic warfare. Dozens of Unitree G1 and H. China is mass producing the Iron Fist infantry that will render boots on the ground obsolete. So why does this matter today? Because we are reaching a civilizational crossroads. We have a recruiting crisis in the West. China has an aging population. Their solution, substitution. They're positioning robotics at the heart of their next generation manufacturing and their defense strategy. Elon Musk says China will be Tesla's biggest competitor, but he's being mass produced in Hangzhou, and he just learned how to kick your head off in 7 different styles. How will the robots deal with the discombobulator? Great question. There you go, Thormok. They have robots. We have the discombobulator. All right, guys, don't go away. Stay tuned. Up next, we're coming home to the Show Me State. Camellia Petersen is joining us to discuss the historic push to finally abolish the Missouri income tax. Can we, those from Missouri, be tax-free 2026? We'll find out next on Wake Up America. Don't go away.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state?
When the Founding Fathers dreamed of liberty, they forgot one thing: coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted, Patriot approved, and disappearing faster than a red coat at Yorktown. Don't get left behind, soldier. Real patriots are starting their mornings with Founding Flavors, and trust us, freedom tastes better with a fresh cup in your hand. Stop drinking those tyrant brews who take your money and don't support your values. Stocks are limited, demand is booming, and your morning deserves a taste of liberty. Order now at forlibertyshop.com before the next shipment gets signed, sealed, and sold out. Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at forlibertyshop.com. Look, not all t-shirts are created equal. Some just sit there. Others start conversations. The ones at forlibertyshop.com, they raise eyebrows, win arguments, and occasionally get you banned from PTA meetings. Whether you're repping freedom, mocking tyrants, or just making the left squirm, we've got the gear that says what you're thinking. Loud, proud, unapologetic. Grab yours today at forlibertyshop.com because your shirt should speak louder than your neighbor's bumper sticker. Legend has it, back in 1773, a band of angry, overtaxed patriots stormed a British ship, found the king's favorite tea, and said, "This would taste better without the tyranny." Then they tossed it overboard. Fast forward to today. That revolutionary spirit lives on in Boston Harbor Black, the boldest brew in the For Libert tea lineup. It's dark, it's smooth, it's unapologetically American, just like the folks who drink it. Whether you're sweetening it up on the front porch or drinking it straight like a Minuteman before battle, this isn't tea for royalty, it's tea for rebels. No fake flavors, no corporate slogans, just a cold glass of Don't Tread on Me in liquid form. So skip the woke iced tea aisle and stock up on Boston Harbor Black at forlibertyshop.com. Because when the heat's rising, the least you can do is drink like a patriot. Picture this. It's 1776. Thomas Jefferson is hunched over his desk at Monticello, ink-stained fingers, writing the most radical document in human history. Do you really think he was sipping Starbucks? No. He was drinking something bold, something black, something brewed strong enough to fuel a revolution. That's the spirit behind Founding Flavors, our signature line of liberty-fueled coffee. No soy froth, no climate guilt, no corporate slogans. Just real coffee, inspired by the men who wrote freedom into existence. Every cup is a quiet protest. Against mediocrity, against tyranny, against bad coffee. So this morning, skip the globalist brew. Grab something worthy of a free man's sunrise. Founding Flavors. Now brewing at forlibertyshop.com. Imagine bringing George Washington back to life. Just to explain that in 2025, men can get pregnant, waving an American flag might offend someone, and our government is $34 trillion in debt. But that's not all, George. We have drag queen story hour for toddlers. Pronouns are mandatory. And Harvard can't define woman. Oh. And we send billions to Ukraine but can't fix potholes in Ohio. You know, just normal modern empire stuff. I'm sure he'd be totally cool with it. Right after he finishes reloading. He didn't cross the Delaware for this nonsense, but you can carry on the fight with gear that would have made King George cry. Shop bold, shop free, shop forlibertyshop.com.
this isn't a good look for you.
You think I care about my look?
No, oh no, trust me.
When you guys
It is evident by how you look, you don't care. We get that, trust me. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying this, trying to be a social warrior. If you actually cared, you probably would care about the child who got raped and also the person who got murdered by the person that we were looking for. But see, you don't care.
No, I don't care because you guys try.
Thank you.
Just try to detain
I'm telling
legal
you, it's the sassy gay guys. They're the only one who are going to be able to stop the avalanche of left-hearted women who are taking over. We need gay black ICE agents getting in the faces of these liberal white females. Welcome to the Back to the Wake Up America show. I'm Austin Petersen. So glad and thankful to have you here. So while the media obsesses over the DC chaos, the real revolution is happening right here in the heartland. From abolishing the income tax to breaking the government's monopoly on your child's education, Missouri is rapidly becoming the experimental laboratory for liberty. But you know, these wins, they don't happen by accident. They require relentless advocacy and uncompromising principle. Joining me now to break down the latest battles in Jefferson City, where we stream this show live, the legislative director, Americans for Prosperity, Camellia Petersen. Hi, CJ.
Good morning.
Thanks for fighting for liberty.
Well, you know, I will say one thing being in this business, I really do believe in people, and I believe that people are capable of great things, but man, they test that belief day to day.
Yeah, you know, Camellia, they say that you must unlearn what you have learned, and I think truly your position as a politico is in trouble until you unlearn your faith in people and you just get on board with the program and just get with the grift. Get yourself a good grift going, Camellia. We're just kidding. Camellia, the Washington State Parental Rights Initiative, right? They're headed to about 2026. The unions try to gut it, right? The parental rights movement has officially moved beyond red states. But in Missouri, for example, we've had education savings accounts being expanded. It's a little early, perhaps, to sort of tell how things are going. But how are things going with education choice in Missouri?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned parental rights bills, and those are going through the legislature in Missouri as well. And, you know, it's such a shame because we should not even have to codify or put in our state constitution that parents have these specific rights. Like that we are at that point says a lot. And it's awful, like, because these are already like inalienable rights that do not need to be defined in statute or the Constitution. But this is where we are. So, people feel the need because parents' rights are violated all of the time when it comes to, schools and transparency with what their children are being taught or the things that they're being given or indoctrinated with. And so like this is the step where we are. And so those things are going through in Missouri as well. And so I'm not surprised that, they're starting to go through blue states too, because this is not necessarily just a left or right thing. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a parent and you want to teach your children to be woke, DEI loving leftists, right? I mean, the role of the school is not to, teach them one way or the other about that. That's the parent's job. The job of the school is to teach, English and history and writing and math and science.
Now, it's interesting that you say that about we shouldn't have to pass parental rights bills in Missouri. You've actually sort of touched on a whole constitutional quagmire that the founding fathers dealt with when it came time to issue a Bill of Rights, because the Bill of Rights was pushed by the anti-federalists to say, listen, we want to guarantee certain rights that are extremely important. We got to write them down. But of course, the Federalists were like, we don't need a Bill of Rights. These rights are obvious. They're out in the open. They should be understood. And to some extent, there were rights that were understood. So in some ways, they had to embrace the people who were not legal positivists, meaning that they want laws to be written down. The only laws are laws that are written down. The people who were against legal positivism had to engage in legal positivism so that they could enshrine rights that they thought were inherently held. Isn't that, now, what a paradox?
Yeah. I mean, was it John Adams that said that freedom requires a virtuous, a virtuous country, people.
He did.
So, I mean, I guess it kind of goes back to that if there are these unspoken rights, it requires that you have a citizenry that also believes, in those certain rights. So, like, given the where we are with our culture, I can understand the need for spelling those things out.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, if you don't write it down, the tyrants will use any legal trick that they can in order to take your rights away. So here in Missouri, we've got Governor Mike Kehoe, who's doing a pretty darn good job. He's called for eliminating the personal income tax over 5 years. Really got my fingers crossed on this one. The left says that this is going to create an $8 billion hole. So what's the real economic data on how this revs the engine of a state's economy, Camelia?
Yeah, so I was in Jefferson County on the eastern side of the state last night talking to a group of people about this because there is a lot of fear mongering that's going on right now. And there are groups that are called, there's an organization that's called the Missouri Budget Project. Sounds very official, sounds very like nonpartisan, sounds like it might be a government entity even, but they are a leftist group and they're putting out all of these things that are scaring people about they're going to raise all your sales tax and whatnot. But let's be real. We're not going to completely get rid of the income tax without replacing it with anything because that would be a huge hole in the budget. And as much as I want to cut spending, our entitlements alone, thanks to Medicaid expansion, will go beyond that. But when we talk about how we do taxes,
is it fair to say that you prefer a regressive tax to a progressive tax?
I think it's debatable as to whether what you call a regressive tax. We've had this conversation a lot over the last year, and because that's kind of the talking point is that sales taxes are regressive taxes.
Well, Tony Lavasco said that to me the other day. He was very smug about it. He was like, "Oh, well, yes, I think regressive taxes are much better than progressive taxes, but." Progressive taxes are supposed to go after people who make more. They're very rich. They have lots of money. They make right. more money than everybody else. Shouldn't we tax the people who make more money versus taxing the poor, innocent, poor and middle class moms, single moms with diapers? Maybe they're victims at one point in time, some evil man in their life, right? And they're going to pay a higher sales tax for the diapers and the formula and all of these important items than the big old rich man smoking his Cuban cigars, Camelia. Does that strike you as wise policy?
I mean, that single mom needs a $15 minimum wage too, right?
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah.
So, I mean, she's got that extra money, right? Although, God help us, Missouri passed $15 minimum wage, so we're struggling to be conservative and sometimes failing. But but that's exactly illustrates the importance of a representative government because we have $15 minimum wage now because of the masses, the mob, and the pulling on your heartstrings, just like you did, because why wouldn't anybody want a living wage? People deserve this. Stuff like that, it's easy to pass at the ballot, which is, kind of the problem with that process too. But anyway, everything is trade-offs, right? We've talked about this lots of times. It's trade-offs, but it's also a matter of how we do taxes. And if you want to tax the rich people, well, I guess you don't want businesses and you don't want jobs that they create and all those kind of things. So we would all be worse off for it.
We've seen 6 of Missouri's 8 neighboring states moving to phase out their income taxes. So if we don't pass HJR 174, are we at risk of becoming an economic island in the Midwest?
Sure. I mean, the only one that maybe would be worse than us is Illinois. So, that's not saying much. We don't want to, we could be worse than Illinois if we keep, holding off. But no, states all around us and across the country, honestly, are all making moves to go to zero. It's a race to the bottom right now.
You love to see it. Let's talk about education. It's your favorite subject. SB 727 expands the Most Scholars program to 300% of the poverty levels. So how many Missouri families who were previously too rich for help but too poor for private school now have a real choice?
Yeah, so this is when we passed 727, it was a big deal and there was a lot of pushback. And I will say, like, when you talk about trade-offs, we had to compromise and give away some stuff that just makes your skin crawl, right? But it was moving in the right direction. And I will tell you, even at the school that Felicity is in this year, just the other day, we had Governor Kehoe come and do like a ceremonial signing. It was a really big deal because it's kind of like the Richie Rich private school in town. And they're trying to get rid of that stigma that they're just a school for rich kids. And they provide a lot of financial assistance. But they had so many more kids who were able to come this year because of the expansion, and those kids were able to take advantage of the Most Scholar scholarships for school choice. So, we're moving in the right direction. And I think the fact that we can, let kids have a great education, when you talk about the stuff that goes on in public schools and you think that so the school that we're in right now for Felicity's last 2 years is it's not a religious school, it's a classical school, but they have an honor code. There are a lot of expectations, and there's such a need for those kind of schools right now. And if we had more of a way to ensure students, enrolling in those schools by giving them that help from their own tax dollars, I think that we would see a lot more of those kind. We really need them.
So July 1st, 2026, that's the go live date for this expansion. So what should parents be doing to ensure that they're the front of the line for these ESAs, Camelia?
Yep. Our state treasurer's office is the one that oversees the program. So if Missourians can go to the state treasurer's website, it's probably treasurer.mo.gov. I might be a little bit wrong about that. But there's a spot on there for Most Scholars, and it walks them through the process and sets them up with the organizations. There's different organizations that handle different kinds of schools and whatnot, and they've made it as easy as they can.
So what could I expect as the father of an almost 2-year-old, would I say, 3 years from now or so?
Well, so my question for you is, are you going to homeschool or have you decided yet?
Yeah, I think I've finally decided what I want to do. And I want to get a giant yacht and raise my whole family out there, teaching them shipbuilding and spearfishing, and homeschool them on the high seas.
Will Starlink get you enough of a signal to do the show from out there?
Yes, surprisingly. So and I'll die at 99 years old getting eaten by a shark in the Cayman Islands or something like that.
There you go.
So Camelia, thanks so much for joining us this morning, and we're talking a little bit about Missouri state-based issues. So the new law, it targets this 4-day school week trend in urban areas. It requires a vote of the people in cities like Independence. So why is the legislature pushing back on the shorter week in charter counties?
Yeah, I think that, Missouri's not the only state where schools have gone to 4-day school weeks. And I think that there's a lot of mixed opinions about that as far as whether or not parents like it. It is a disruption in the schedule, obviously. But I think also the data has not borne out that it's beneficial. And in fact, it's probably more harmful when it comes to outcomes for students. If you think about it, like you're trying to get a full 8-hour day or whatever it is you're trying to fit that time into the other 4 days. But how much good does it do you to tack an extra, 15, 30 minutes onto a class period for a subject? And I think it doesn't end up working out. You can't fit the same amount of material for 2 days, for 1 day into the rest of the week. So I don't think it's really effective.
So rural districts, they've largely adopted the 4-day week to recruit teachers. But the new law offers a 1% funding bonus for those who stay at 5 days. So bribe or incentive?
We have so many things that are going through the legislature right now that are trying to improve the public school system. And so many times they're trying to do it through incentives like this. And I'm super skeptical as to whether or not that's actually going to work.
At some point, I just want to have an extra day off. You can't pay me. You can't pay me to not. Now, we see national teachers unions spending heavily in Missouri school board races, of all places. So what are they so afraid of if the public schools are as excellent as they claim?
Well, it's protectionism, right? The bureaucracy is going to protect itself because, the public education system has become a jobs program. There's been numbers that have come out for Missouri and for the rest of the states, and there's a trend in all of the states that the staffing for the public school system has grown immensely while the student enrollment has dropped. And there's a huge difference in Missouri, and a lot of that is administrative staff. And there's a good chunk of it that is also teachers. And so my question is like, if the complaint is that we have a teacher shortage, how is that working if we've lost so many students and we're gaining teachers? Like, this is not mathing.
Yeah, the math is not mathing for sure. But, you've been on the trenches on this one, Camellia, and real change has been happening in the last few years. You definitely get kudos for that, you and AFP. So thanks for doing that. Missouri, we became the first state to eliminate the capital gains tax. So
yes.
Has that actually had any impact on investment in the Show Me State?
It just went into effect this year, so I think it's probably too soon to tell. We probably need another couple of years to really see the outcomes from that. But I will say, we were the first to do the capital gains tax. I wish we could say we were the first to do a lot of other things. I have a question for you. Have you ever ridden in a Waymo or other autonomous vehicle car?
A Tesla, self-driving Tesla.
Okay, yeah. So I have not, but I am all for our robot chauffeurs and overlords.
Great.
But it is so Missouri on this end of things, though, is a little bit behind. And there is enormous pushback against allowing Waymo to come into St. Louis to provide safe transportation. So I would like to lead and be the Show Me State, show other states what we can do. But
it would be nice.
We need the Luddites to get out of the way with education and technological advancement.
They won't. They never will. The Luddites you will always have with you, just like, the poor.
And not worrying about marrying your AI. If people want to marry their AI, let them marry their AI.
I don't know about that, Camellia. Let's move on. Or move back. So if the income tax phase out hits the ballot this November, you've been talking to people about this. You've been, pushing, lobbying for this. You must have gotten together with your team and come up with some really killer one-liners. Some to one-shot somebody's brain. So what is the one sentence that every Missourian needs to tell their skeptical neighbor to get the income tax repeal across the finish line this fall?
I think the bottom line is it puts more money back in your pocket. That's the end all be all of it, is that, the government doesn't need to, they take the very first dollar out of your income. They take that out of your paycheck. You don't ever even get to see it. And the government should never have the right to do that.
I'm going to be real. You need to take that one back to the drawing board, because I'm going to say right now, you're appealing to people's better nature. It's good to appeal a little bit to their pocketbook. A little bit to their pocketbook. No, it's true. I made the mistake that when we were debating at the regional Republican caucus about whether or not we would add to the platform at the state level a ban on casinos at the Lake of the Ozarks, I made the mistake of appealing to people's patriotism, their desire for liberty, and what the American people stood for. And in retrospect, that was a mistake, because I definitely lost that fight. But what I should have done is said, what if Donald Trump wants to start a casino at the lake? And then they all would have been like, oh, yeah.
Well, okay, so funny thing, the same day that we were having the income tax hearing, the White House put out a paper, a study or something that was talking about the benefits of states eliminating the income tax. So we definitely know that the White House and the president are on board with this plan. And was it a coincidence it came out the same day? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the biggest things when we were at the state fair this last summer, and we were asking people, so the average savings, if we eliminated the income taxes, like the average savings would be $1,500. Like, what would you do with an extra $1,500 a year? And people would write down, what they would do with that extra money. And it could be anything. It was, for some people, it was, putting money towards schooling for their kids, a better school. For other people, it was like giving more money philanthropically. And for other people, it was like buying more ducks or whatever. I mean,
yes. Camelia, running up at the end of this, I have a couple of questions on another topic for you. First question is, we're friends. We've known each other for years. So my question to you firstly is, if I was spiraling out of control, would you tell me? If I was making an ass of myself publicly and doing damage to my own reputation, would you tell me?
I hope so. Like, it's not an easy thing to do, right? But I mean, I know that I appreciate people who tell me the truth, even if I don't like it.
So does nobody love Thomas Massie?
Oh gosh, yeah. I just, I was thinking about that this morning. I know that you've been covering a lot on the show, and I was just like, I am so fatigued with it all. And like, if I just don't even want to hear about it anymore, that the general public is like, we're tired of that. Like, it's just kind of dragging on with not a lot to show for it anymore. And it's just right or wrong. Like, everybody's fatigued on it, and you have to have a really concrete, point and goal with everything. And it's so muddled at this point that it's really hard to see that specifically. And people can't respond to vagueness. Like, they need specifics.
So was Trump right?
About it being like a hoax or no big deal?
Essentially.
I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know the answer to that anymore. I mean, the fact that he, pandered to it whenever he was running and was still supportive of releasing it, up until he wasn't, right? There was no consistency there. And I guess if you can say one thing for Massie, it's that he's been consistent.
Yeah. He's consistently traded out MAGA support for Jew haters, groypers, conspiratards, reptilians, adult prostitutes who claim to have been trafficked. It's become such a fiasco that it's like a car crash, but I want to look away because it involves someone that I really respect and admire. And it's deeply troubling, Camelia.
So, I guess my question in all of this is, if this is all just a nothing burger, like, why didn't they resolve this years ago? Like, if it was all going to come to this, where it's like the fallout from this is nothing other than that Steve Bannon is a schmuck, and we all knew that anyway. But
has Thomas Massie called out Steve Bannon, by the way?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I've heard that from him. Like, I've heard it from plenty of other people, but you would think that these sort of things would be the obvious things that you would point out from this, as far as like the character, especially given that like the connections that he had with the Trump administration previously. And so I don't know. That's yeah.
Urs Mommy says, wait, you guys don't believe the Epstein stuff? That's not what we're saying. We're saying that adult Russian hookers who get $2 million tax-free settlements, you might want to cross-examine them if they were actually victims or not. Camelia, anything else you want to share with our audience before we go?
I think we covered it all.
Yeah, I think that was it. From income tax in Missouri to hookers. Have a good day, Camelia. Thanks so much for fighting for liberty here in the state. We appreciate it.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
We are relentless in addressing it. We are persistent, we are patient, but we are relentless.
Are you going to protect women's safety? Are you going to protect women's safety about, the trans men going into women's locker rooms and harassing us? Are you going to protect us from that? What do you feel about that? Do you know what a woman is? I asked a question. Do you know what a woman is? Are you going to stand for women? Yeah. Word salads. LA, you ready for a mayor that's going to stand for women? I'm right here. I'm bold. I'm not afraid. Tish Hyman, it's not that hard.
That's right. All right, stay with us because we're going to go from the capital, Missouri, to the chaos of California. Up next, that woman, Tish Hyman, she's running for mayor of Los Angeles, banned from Gold's Gym for protecting women's spaces. Now she wants to clean up the entire city. The fight for LA starts after the break. Don't go away. This is the Wake Up America show, and that's on the 4 Liberty Network.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is...
How you say? I'm 42 years old. I come from a very rough neighborhood. And I was in a restroom in a Gold's Gym, and I turned around to a man in the locker room. 3 different men on 4 different occasions in a 2-week span, which let me know it was out of control. Now, me as a very tough woman from the Bronx, I promise you I cried more than I ever cried in my adult life. After this, I cried for my mom. I cry when I hear these little girls telling their stories. And I am a tough woman. And the effect that turning around to a man in the locker room had on me, or him disrespecting me, having no regard for my naked body, the way that I felt, the disrespect, the violation, and how it affected my...
Wake up, America. Los Angeles is a city in crisis, but the chaos isn't just on the sidewalks. It's in the spaces where women are supposed to be most protected. Last October, Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter Tish Hyman found herself at the center of a national firestorm. While undressed in the locker room of a Beverly Center gym, she confronted a 6-foot-tall biological male who claimed they had a right to be there. Tish didn't back down. She recorded the confrontation. She demanded accountability. And how did the corporate gym respond? Well, they didn't protect the privacy of their female members. Instead, they permanently revoked Tish's membership and had her escorted out by police. Now, instead of being silenced, Tish Hyman has turned that outrage into action. She has officially launched a nonpartisan bid for the mayor of Los Angeles. She's taken on Karen Bass and the radical machine that has abandoned common sense. Joining us now live, very early in the morning, Tish Hyman. Hey, congratulations, welcome, and thank you for standing up and fighting for women and girls, Tish. We're grateful and glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm just so happy to be here this morning. Good morning.
Tish, you were a successful artist, writing for Alicia Keys and Kanye West, but the video at the Beverly Center gym changed everything. So take us back to that moment. What was the final straw that made you pull out your phone and start recording?
It was just so many times it happened, and it was just like the first video that came out wasn't my phone that recorded it. It was just a group of ladies in there, and I was confronting him. So this initial video was, I was blessed to have someone with courage to record it on their phone, and I got airdropped that video footage of me having this interaction with this guy. And I guess what prompted that was just women realizing that we had this situation going on, and this was our only way to take a stand.
The responses that you get to something like this, if it were 20 or 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when I was a kid, there would have been a national outrage directed not at you, but at the people who were in the bathrooms or who were allowing it. Now it seems as if you, even though you were a victim, are being demonized by people who think that this should be allowed. They want you to shut up, don't they?
Yes, of course. You know, they've been allowed to continue this ridiculous behavior for the last 10 years, 12 years, it seems. And not many people have been able to break through and get the masses to understand the problem, you know. So I think now it's become very, obvious to everyone that this is an issue that has been going on for far too long and been pushed under and secretly, been oppressing women in our personal spaces, in our intimate spaces, in our sports and locker rooms, which...
Tish, you're a tough woman. You're from the Bronx, like you said. You are the type of person to stand up, and even you, dealing with this incident, have broken down several times. But other women are deeply afraid of speaking out. Why? Why are they afraid, Tish?
Well, cancel culture has people polarized. People are afraid to lose their jobs, to get their private information released on the internet. There's a lot of social pressure, and I think people and women are, for the most part, are non-confrontational. So we just try to live and let live, and that has been going on. But when it's been dangerous for us to live and let live this situation, because look where it's gotten us. It seems that we can't live and let live. And it's because the male who believes they are female believes that their feeling about being female matters more than the female's feelings. And that's just crazy.
It's insane, Tish. And we're just so thankful that we have people like you who are stepping up and getting in the faces of some of these politicians. I was playing clips earlier of you getting into the faces of U.S. senators. You were calling out the journalists in that video around you, Tish. I mean, in many ways, the journalists really are the protectors of the upper class and of the people who are victimizing you and other girls, aren't they?
I mean, journalists are supposed to be the ones that share the information and keep people informed. And it seems like there's kind of some interesting biased journalism going on these days, where you have to look at multiple sources to try to put together the story, when it should be that they're just trying to keep people informed. The story's unbiased on both sides.
Yeah, you confronted a senator, Ed Markey, and he's wearing a transgender flag. He's surrounded by reporters in Washington, D.C., and you said you're a grown man fighting to be in the women's locker room. What did you mean?
So basically, we were at a protest. We were at a rally. They were protesting our rally. We were at a Save Girls Sports rally. There were lots of little girls there telling their stories and, making their testimonies, and we were waiting for the Supreme Court to hear two cases that weekend that were very important to women's sports and safety. And, on the other side, there's just this group of very angry, confrontational protesters protesting little girls who want to be safe in sports. And so when I'm in these situations, it's kind of like a very high, intense situation when you're combating people who are adults who are protesting children. So when I've seen this grown man who is supposed to be a senator, I'm thinking to myself, you're here to protest little girls who want to be safe in their sports. You're here to say that a male's feelings are more important than a female's feelings. And this just, I had to expose this. And that's why I came to him aggressively, because if you're there, and he seemed to not know where he was. I mean, I'm not going to lie, he seemed a little aloof. If you're there and you don't know where you are, sir, let me let you know where you are and what you're doing, sir, and how this is going to affect you and many other people. And from that post, I found out that a lot of people in his district and don't appreciate him and think he's not a great senator.
Yeah, pretty clearly. We'd love to see this, Tish. You're confronting these politicians. Let's talk a bit about what we call the victimhood Olympics, because of identity and the importance of identity in American politics today. There's a sort of hierarchy, if you will, of who is oppressed, who is more oppressed, and who is most oppressed. And so you are a lesbian woman. You're running in one of the bluest cities in America. You're a black lesbian woman, and now you're being labeled as hateful by the radical left. So were you able to sort of quantify the drop in protected status from being a black lesbian woman as sort of being at the top of the hierarchy? Does the left sort of see trans rights as more important now than a black woman's right to be free from being assaulted in a bathroom? Talk to us about the identity politics situation in your case.
It's interesting. I've never really known much about identity politics until I got into this position. And I will say this, I wouldn't say that as a black woman, I felt like we were at the top of this hierarchy or whatever, because I didn't feel that. However, it does strike me interesting that they can utilize our civil rights to push the narrative. That's what they're doing. It's not that black women are in a hierarchy. It's that they use the plight of black people and our civil rights as a tool and a mask to push this agenda. And that is disgusting. And that is really, it's infuriating. And it should be to most people that are black, because this has nothing to do with your race or how you were born. It's actually the complete opposite. And to have it blended into this cocktail of chaos is interesting to me.
You've really gotten an education, haven't you, Tish? You've really had to learn quick about the battlefield, haven't you?
Yeah, it was quite the learning experience. It was a crash course, if you will, in ridiculous politics, because I think this is the most ridiculous thing that I've had to argue in my life. And I find it ridiculous to have to talk to grown men or women and explain to them the differences between men and women. It's just, we
need to join forces with Tish and provide her material support. You see, we out here in flyover country, we build sort of antibiotics to the disease of wokeism out here. So I'm glad you're joining us on this live show, because I'm getting to introduce you to a whole brand new set of audience members who I think should be following you online. And I will plug all of your socials a little bit later, and we'll talk about where people can make donations and provide you with at least as much material support as we can in your quest for the mayor of Los Angeles. But I think most importantly is that you sort of become an avatar to some degree or a spokesperson for people who are, not being afraid to step up, being courageous. I mean, you must have gotten, in the past several months, reached out to by several groups. People must be reaching out to you, not just myself. I doubt I'm the first person to find you, but are you finding support out there? Are there people who are stepping up and maybe donating to your campaign or providing some other kind of material support? Have you found allies?
Absolutely. I feel like most general public agree with, my reaction to the scenario and the event that I was involved in. And in regard to my run for mayor, I've gotten outpours of support from all over the country, which have been very, inspirational and motivational to continue the quest. And I'm looking to meet even more. I don't have enough support in Los Angeles because this was such a national event. It just seems like it just spread out. So I'm trying to concentrate my energy to Los Angeles City and just trying to get people here to understand that I am putting together policies and platforms that really make sense for the city. And although I am a new, I guess I'm new to the political field because I don't want to call myself a politician. I think that's rich. That would be very rich of me.
Good idea.
But I'm new to the field of politics, and I'm kind of visualizing Los Angeles as a failed business and just trying to attack it from the business perspective of how do we build back the economy? How do we get a handle on the homelessness situation? How do we make it more affordable here realistically without turning away developers and people who want to invest in the city or who are trying to figure out if they even should continue to invest in the city, which they absolutely should. There's only one Los Angeles. And although people are trying to create new Hollywoods all over the world, there's only one Hollywood. There's only one Hollywood sign, and it's here in Los Angeles.
Tish, that is a winning message. I mean, if you were running for mayor of Jefferson City, you'd win with a message like that. But I hope that they appreciate it. I was in Los Angeles a year or 2 years ago at a festival, and boy, the film community is really just feeling upset and black-pilled about their future. They feel like they're getting run out of business in their own community, and businesses just flying overseas because of the hostile attitude towards Hollywood and towards business making. Did you know that you have to have, you probably do, you're in the industry to some extent. Did you know if you want to film a movie in Los Angeles, you have to hire an LAPD officer, you have to have them on the set, and you pay for them for the whole day to have them do security for you. Those are the kinds of laws that run business right out of town, and you just do it on a film set somewhere else, Tish. But listen, I want to get to that in just a moment. And I just identified somebody in my chat who's from Long Beach, says they've got nothing but free time. If she needs me, she got me. So we're going to make sure that.
Hey, yes, I do need you.
Me too. That's
I'm looking for a campaign manager. I need a really great campaign manager.
I know. I actually might know a couple, Tish. So we'll definitely talk about this afterwards. I'll throw a couple names your way. I've got a video pulled up right now on the screen. The audience can't hear it, but they can see it. And it's talking, you're confronting a California senator by the name of Senator Weiner about California's self-identification laws. So what are self-identification laws, and what was this interaction all about?
So self-identification laws are basically, in the short of it, is a person who can self-identify as anything. So I today, and you can clearly see I'm a woman, I can decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to self-identify. I am a man. And today I will be called Tishton Hyman or Tishtifer. And which I've been trying to get people to name their kids that for years. So if anybody wants to, thank you. Tishtifer, Tishton, I think these are great male names. Anyway, so if I want to be Tishtifer today, Tishtifer is now male. And I can demand that people who are absolutely insane follow my guys on this and call me and refer to me as he. And so this is what that is. And how I got to Scott Weiner was, I was just looking for answers after this happened to me. I was like, well, what? This is a law. Well, who started this? Where did this come from? Who's supporting these bills? And I found out through, a network of women who had taken me on and just started teaching me about this stuff, that this Scott Weiner guy was a bad guy. And so I do my little research and I'm like, oh my God, I found out he had a speaking engagement. And I was like, I'm going down there. I'm going to approach him and I want to ask him, I want him to tell me, why does he think this is okay? And this was also my quest to figure out what was happening in government, how this even became law. So this was the first step in trying to figure out a solution. And as you saw from that encounter, he thinks trans women are women and they're being so abused. And I'm like, Scott, are you crazy?
Yes. You got to be able to believe in yourself and believe that you can change the world to actually make it happen, Tish. And I mean, seeing you standing up here, the video is pulled up, you're talking to the audience, millions of people are tuning in and listening. And, you're a political neophyte, you're new to the scene, but you understand your rights and you're expressing them so clearly, so beautifully. I just am so proud to see you out there fighting to be the mayor of Los Angeles. Let's talk a little bit about your mayoral campaign. Outside of this issue, LA is suffering from crime, homelessness, hollowed out nightlife economy. As an artist and entrepreneur, so how are you going to bring back adult supervision to City Hall?
Well, I think that the main thing is just having a clear idea of how to start the process. So there are phases for me in my campaign and in my policy overview. I'm just like, okay, the first phase is public safety. Public safety is a huge problem here in Los Angeles. You don't feel safe. You know, I just left out of my building to go to my car and get something, and the first thing I see in the morning is a homeless person just walking and trying to figure themselves out. And this is a very dangerous situation because when you're talking about someone who is up all night, walking the streets, who knows whatever they've been through that evening or what they're going through in that moment, when they're seeing just this person who's on their way to their car to go to work, it's just a very unsettling feeling there for both sides. You know, there's someone that you can look at them and you can see they live on the streets, they're living this lifestyle, and it's hurtful. And then I know on the opposite spectrum, it's like I'm coming outside and I'm in danger because I'm just walking to the store and I'm walking past the person who is going through something that could attack me, that anything can happen. And we've seen many cases throughout the years of people just walking and getting attacked by a person who's having a bad morning or just going through something or just angry. So there's a high level of problems with the public safety. So I think that the first thing we need to do is address that. And that's going to be making tenting illegal and providing places for the people to go. There is no way that we can have a beautiful, clean, safe city where people are able to put tents on a sidewalk and create a life that way. This isn't an island, and this isn't, I don't know, anywhere that's cheap enough for you to do that. We're not having it anymore. It needs to stop.
Let's hear it for
it's too expensive.
Tish Hyman for mayor.
Like that.
All right. Do you think people are actively profiting from keeping people on the streets?
100%. They're maintaining homelessness, and that's the incentive to keep it going. I mean, if 65,000 unhoused people are helping or providing 300,000 people with jobs, then why would they want to get rid of those 65,000 people? And it's not even because the jobs will disappear, because the job never ends. People need help. Help is a long-term thing for these people. It's not something that's 20 days or, no, you got to help people. So if they really were smart, well, they've been smart enough to steal, but now that train's coming to an end. If they were really smart and they wanted to keep the train running, they would actually help the people. Because as you know, there's no shortness of people who want to check out. A lot of these people have checked out. And some of these people are just falling on hard times. It's very expensive to live here, and they need housing. Some people need mental help. Some people need rehab. We need to provide all of these services and stop financing homelessness. It's a business here. They keep them on the streets. They give them needles. They give them all kinds of paraphernalia, drugs even, alcohol for the, I guess, people who are going through alcohol withdrawal, as if like water in a hospital bed won't help. But they don't have access, or they're not giving them this. But I think that it's more than giving. I think at this point we have to force it. We have to force rehabilitation centers on drug addicts who've been drug addicts, because it's not humane to keep people on the streets. Sidewalks are not mental institutions or rehabs. They're sidewalks, and they're made for walking, not sleeping, laying, peeing, pooping, and all the other nonsense that's going on our sidewalks.
Really? No way.
No. You would think everybody would think this.
I think I see maybe the beautiful sunrise. I don't know, that's reflecting on your lovely face, Tish. It's already.
Yes, it's coming up.
It's beautiful to see. Your campaign is inspiring people all across the country, maybe around the world, Tish. I want to make sure that we get the best opportunity for you to share your contact information so that people like Relaxium over in the chat, who are in LBC and have nothing but time on their hands, how people can help you out, where they can donate money. Give us the plug. Tell us where to go, what to do.
Well, guys, you can donate to my campaign at Hyman for Mayor, Hyman, HYMAN, the number 4, Mayor, MAYOR.com. And you can reach me anywhere on the internet. I have a page. It's listen number 2 Tish, LISTEN, the number 2 Tish, TISH. And I also have new Hyman for Mayor platforms as well. So you can find me on any social media platform at Hyman, HYMAN, the number 4 Mayor, MAYOR. And yes, please follow me there, because I'm trying to build up my following on my platform there as mayor, because, you know, Listen to Tish is my music platform, and it's kind of taking a little back seat, a little side seat to this as of now, you know?
We got you
It's
back
very
out here.
important.
We got you back out here, and we're just thrilled to see people out there being brave, making moves. Tish, you definitely earned a follow from us. Hope you have a wonderful day, and good luck in your campaign. We'll be in touch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. I got something out. No, I gotta get back. Yo, better back up. Jesus, what? I'm 40 years old. I can't be dealing with this. God damn it. One more. What? Yo, yeah, you're telling me I've been chasing him for 5 minutes. What do y'all want?
Get out of there, you the SPS man. Them turkeys, they'll get you. They'll spur you. You gotta run, dude. Run, run, squirrel, run. Run, 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 run. We are raising the bar. The Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Guests like that, Tish Hyman, they don't grow on trees. They grow on money trees. Hey, Nelson, I saw your donation earlier. Quest, you've been very generous today. Thank you very much to everyone who has made a contribution. When you see guests like that, just remember that we are working our butts off behind the scenes during the days. For you, you open up the show, you watch it for a couple hours in the morning. It's a small part of your day. For us, we are over here busting our butts to make sure that you get to hear and see from fantastic people like Tish Hyman. I hope that you've enjoyed us and her telling her story. We are out there we're gonna find more fantastic guests just like that. I'm committed to elevating the quality of this show all the time. So thank you for your financial generosity. I know that we haven't raised bonus content in a couple of days. I haven't been pushing it really that hard. Been focusing on other things, just focusing on bringing in a fantastic show. So if you did enjoy it, please do exit through the Grift shop at forlibertyshop.com. And if you've been thinking about making a purchase, or if you've been thinking about coming with us to Boston, book your tickets today. Support the Wake Up America show and the For Liberty Network so you can hear more stuff like that. We'll see you tonight, Tuesday, on Culturama, rumble.com/Culturama, another show on the For Liberty Network. And we'll see you guys tomorrow right here on the Wake Up America show and the For Liberty Network.
When the Founding Fathers dreamed of liberty, they forgot one thing: coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted, Patriot approved, and disappearing faster than a redcoat at Yorktown. Don't get left behind, soldier. Real patriots are starting their mornings with Founding Flavors. And trust us, freedom tastes better with a fresh cup in your hand. Stop drinking those tyrant brews who take your money and don't support your values. Stocks are limited, demand is booming, and your morning deserves a taste of liberty. Order now at forlibertyshop.com before the next shipment gets signed, sealed, and sold out. Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at forlibertyshop.com.